5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we are live, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We are. We're live. Wow, that looks great, Stephen.
Great.
Welcome to the podcast. This is the Existential Crisis Podcast with Stephen Gardner and Alexander Ford.
Appropriately named.
We're finally doing it.
That's what she said.
I have no idea why we're doing this because I persisted hard. And I was like, I want to do a podcast with Stephen. And so the day has come and now we're here.
Yeah, I remember you told me, you're like, when do you want to do it? When's the first day? I'm like, oh, fucking no.
I don't know.
And you're like, just pick a day, goddamn. No.
Yeah, I know. You're the constraint. Why?
I like to be directed.
You like to be what?
Directed,
Directed.
I guess.
Okay, well,
It seems like it's a theme for me.
I'm going to direct you towards the topic of today's episode, which is knowing how to grow.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You picked it.
I did. It came from editing some videos. And I was really thinking about, like, how people and how I grow in particular, and like exactly how that has to look, you know? Growth. And it was interesting because, like, I don't think that's a question that people ask themselves enough. Like, how do you want to grow? Like, what does that actually look like? Like, instead what people do is they're like, I want to have that, I want to have that, I want to have this, I want to have that, I want, like, all these things. And I think the wiser course of action is to be like, well, how do I actually want to grow? Because if I grew, I'd probably have those things anyway. You know? And then it's like, well, how do you grow? And, like, and I find that people don't, well, lots of people, and myself included, we tend to not trust what we decide. It's like I could say I want to do something, and then 2 days later it's like, nope, didn't want to do that because I didn't take action on it, right? So it's like, I think it's important to have a discussion and, you know, invite people into a conversation about, like, how do we grow? Like, what's the right way to grow? And I think that's one of the biggest questions that people ask that I notice, because they don't know, you know. So
What question?
Like, if you go and ask someone, like, how do you want to grow tomorrow? You know?
What?
They don't know.
No.
You know? And so we have this, it just appears, like, I've worked with lots of clients, and I've edited lots of videos, and I see this quite a bit, and people want direction. Like, we want that. You know? There's a need for, like, how do I make, what's the right decision to make? What do I do right? What's the right thing to do? You know? And I remember I was like that in multiple job firings where, you know, companies would go under because media companies don't tend to produce product other than ad revenue. And then it's like, oh, great, I don't have a job anymore. And it's like, well, what do I do? You know? And obviously that's happening a lot in the world where you have, you know, COVID and stuff like that going on. So it's like, what do these people do? You know? And because we're so dependent on, like, we just get, like, once we're comfortable, we don't think. You know? We don't think beyond what's comfortable. And the problem is that when it becomes uncomfortable, you're not ready for it. And then it's like, oh shit, what do I do? You know? And this video I was editing over the weekend, I was talking about, like, how, like, that there are specific themes that if you just followed, you'd be able to grow. And it kind of plays on that book that I read that I got from Jay, Never Ending Quest, which talks about, like, how people grow in hierarchies, and there's levels to how people grow and, like, what they'll grow into, and you can track it, and if you know where you are, then you know exactly how to grow. And I think that's a missing piece for a lot of people, and it shows up as a problem, or at least that I see it as a problem in the way I see the world, because if people don't know where they're at, they don't know what's next, they don't know their needs, they're living in fantasies, they're attempting to compensate for emotions and, you know, all that kind of thing, over shopping, I guess, in that way. And then an experience happens, like an emergency, like you lose your job or something, or you lose money, or like something happens, someone dies, or you have a medical emergency, and it's like we don't prepare for that, you know. And you know, should we? Well, probably that would be a good idea, but I think we would be way more capable of acknowledging the challenges and like working towards prepping ourselves for these kind of changes if we knew how little we had to grow in steps, like day to day, as opposed to these big leaps that everyone wants to do.
So there's a lot to unpack in there.
Yeah.
Can we start the conversation around, like, even in just writing the copy for this post? What I was thinking through was that why would anyone want to grow to begin with? Like, the conversation of knowing how to grow, like, depends upon people buying in on the idea that growth is something they should want, or that they can participate in, or that they should participate in it. Like, let's not assume people are waking up in the morning thinking, fuck everything else I thought I wanted. Growth is definitely the point, right? Like, people want to eat pizza, and they want to, in a life of perceived suffering, they want to have fun, or they want to retire, or they want to fuck, or they want to avoid people they're annoyed by in their life.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
my perception is that what drives a lot of people doesn't seem to be in any way related to growing. Growth sounds a lot like work, and most of the people I know don't want to work. How do we set up growth in a way where they want to learn how to do it? Why would they want to even learn?
I think it's the way I've experienced it is that we don't know our limits until we know how limitless we are. So it's like
Can you switch to this camera?
we have a cool studio monitor over there. It's pretty cool. But speaking to limits, like, we exist in paradigms. We have boxes that we've built, you know. We only think so far as the mind can see. We only filter our world through our values. You know, we only see so much. And when things aren't working, or we're constantly challenged, or we're constantly, like, addicted to something, or we're constantly in the notebook doing personal work, trying to fix our lives and stuff like that. I mean, there appears to be an attempt to not want to feel that, like, shitty, you know. It's like, I don't want to feel shitty.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what do I do with that? And I think that what it really comes down to is that the reason for growth is to see past your existing limits, so that you can, you know, it's like if all I know is that Big Macs are what I'm supposed to eat, then that's all I know. You know.
Yeah.
But if I grow past that and I see that, wait a minute, there's really cool food that I could eat in other places, that's cool. And there's like there's like an incentive there. It's like, I want to go do that, you know.
Okay.
And I think it's the same thing. Like, we can continue mundaneness and I guess some people are okay with that. I'm not. I like variety. I want to have more experiences in my life. I want to travel. I want to, I want to hire someone to take me on a workout physical vacation in Greece at some point. Like these are things I like to do. So, at least for me, I think that growth is really stepping into the opportunity to see like what else am I capable of.
It sounds a lot to me like faith. Um, if I were to choose a religion in life, I would choose the religion of growth, because it seems to me like there's themes of like having faith in the idea that there is more and that there's some meaning in the challenges that I endure. Jordan Peterson talks about how life is essentially suffering, and so the only thing that will make it worthwhile would be to find something of consequence or something of meaning to remain focused on. And John says that like growth occurs at the border of support and challenge, which is also where love and meaning are found. And so to me, it's like I can live a life of hedonism, like pain and pleasure, and I can live a life of avoiding what I don't like and trying to chase down what I think I do like. Or I can pursue a life of meaning, and I see those as like mutually exclusive. Like a meaningful life can have pain and pleasure in it, but a life built on pain and pleasure will not often lead to meaning in a way. So it seems to me like the way to win at life is to put growth first, and then to see what pain and suffering and what fun and pleasure there is in store, like along the way. Whereas a life built on the impulse to avoid pain or the impulse to seek pleasure will seldom connect to meaning. So like it seems like the only way to find meaning would be to make growth the point. Because like you said, there's almost nothing in my life that I control. I can say that I want to eat something different than a Big Mac, but I mean, if I don't know what I'm looking for, how do I find it?
Yeah, that's the thing that, I think that's the key point, which I have spent an amazing amount of time in my life trying to figure out, which is like, if we're gonna grow, where do we grow, and what do we grow into, and like what do I grow, you know, and I was having a conversation with my wife Diana about this today, where we were talking about how people that are stuck, and I've definitely been stuck in my life, have a tendency to, like, when they think about things they want to do, it's like all or nothing. It's like either super exaggerated or not at all.
Give me an example.
I have a friend of mine. It's a friend that we met in Calgary from Diana's workplace. And, she came over and she's talking about how she wants to just, fuck it all and go live off the land and, get a bus to BC and just start living off the land, that kind of thing. And I'm like, do you have any experience with that? Like, do you know how to work an axe or a knife, or like how to build a log house, or how to survive a harsh winter in the BC Rockies? Like, are you crazy?
In a van.
Right? Like, what's going on here? And so I confronted it, and I'm like, do you have a plan for this? Like, have you really thought about it? Have you done the research? Have you taken training? Have you? And none of that existed. And what I found out was that she just didn't have, like, she's caught in existentialism, really, and when you're like, I really think that existentialism, in that sense, where it's like we're totally exaggerating what we can do, we're just caught in fantasies, we're not willing to deal with the challenges that come with those fantasies, which is why they're a fantasy. And oddly enough, that's just a metaphor for how much challenge they already have in their life that they're not dealing with.
can we just pause there and break down what you just said? So, like, I'm imagining that I'm a listener. That sounds great. It's like Alan Watts. I could fall asleep listening to that. And also, if we're too quick about it, I don't think... If it just feels like one of those things that you and I get that people won't hear.
Yeah, it's like... If you've just lost your job and you're 2 weeks away from a paycheck...
Yeah.
You should probably get a job. As fast as fucking possible. You know?
Let's go there. So we've had clients and we talked to people who applied to work with us who are in some form of that predicament. For some reason, they feel like... It's funny. I have very little runway. Maybe none. Maybe I've borrowed. And somehow these individuals computate that the most likely path for them to make money to survive is to become an entrepreneur. And package an offer, market the offer, sell the offer, fulfill the offer, and keep the money as quickly as possible. Which is similar to just getting up and going and living off the land. Like, they don't know how to package an offer or like how to do a video, how to speak into a lens. Like the act of looking down a camera lens makes them uncomfortable. And they're feeling like, no problem. In just about overnight, I'm going to go make $100,000 a year. And what you're saying is, get a job. You should probably get a job. I'm saying that too. Like, if you don't know what you're doing, you should probably get a job. What's so bad about a job anyway?
Yeah, it's like people... This goes into some of the needs that I wrote down. Because I didn't pay attention to this stuff at all in my life. Like, when I first read the Tony Robbins book, Waking the Giant Within, I think, and he talks about the human needs. Like, I didn't understand it at the time. I was too young. I wasn't in it. I didn't get it. And I was editing this video, and the guy's talking about, like, because he was a student of Tony's for like 10 years, and he explained it, and I'm like, now I get it. And what I realized for the first time was that these needs are innate to everybody. Like, and that's not a debatable thing. Like, they're real. Like, they are like legitimate, whether it's energy, whether it's chemistry or biology or DNA or whatever. They are real things. And so it's like, significance is one that really popped out for me, which was like, how many people are attempting to, let's say, jump the system, where it's just like, I'm going to make a course and I'm going to market it, and in day one I'm going to make $5 million. It's like, that might be a 6 month to 6 year process.
Yeah, or longer. I mean, it takes some of our clients a year to build a single funnel. Because all kinds of shit comes up.
Yeah.
Like, humans are fucking crafty in avoiding certain behaviors. It could take a long time. So they're thinking, like, unconsciously they have a driver that says, I need to feel significant in my life.
Yeah.
And these other items, like, I need to feel connected and loving. And I need certainty. And ironically, uncertainty, which is novelty. And growth and contribution. And some of these are probably easier to get in modern day society than others.
Yep.
Like, how hard is it to get out your cell phone and Google something? Like, certainty is only a Facebook like away, you know? But I could see that, like, in a an economy of how basically if you're not an entrepreneur, you're a dipshit employee who's clearly not living their purpose. I can see like there's this cacophony of voices that appear very significant. And
Yeah, that's
if
true.
if you're not if you're not educated and you don't know how to sniff out bullshit, it might look like everyone is more significant than you are. And so,
Yeah.
like what you're saying is like, are we setting ourselves up for challenge in life and fucking up our growth by pursuing these sort of existentialized ideas in pursuit of significance when we could become significant in an easier way?
Yeah, I'm fairly confident that significance is literally one observation away. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really important. And it's like this is why I chose that name for the show, like how to know how to grow, basically, because if we want to do something, but our agenda for growth is to compensate for one of these needs that are not met, then what ends up happening is that, let's say I don't feel significance in my life, so then I'm like, maybe I'm diminished in that ability, so then I'm on the internet and I'm watching all these other people do it, like you said, and I'm like, I gotta go do that, you know.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, so you're not significant, and you're gonna go do something that other people who are significant are doing, and that's like, I'm gonna climb a hill without any energy bars, or without any water, I'm just gonna try it, you know,
Yeah.
see what happens, you know, and you know, I was editing this video, and as he's going through the 6 needs, I'm thinking about them, and I'm like, God, it's not really that hard, you know. And if we like took our growth in those specific areas, so that at least we had a tangent that was like, you know what, if I don't feel significant in my life, maybe I should ask a question like, where am I in present tense, where have I been in past tense, and where am I going to be that I can logically think about significant.
Wait a second. But I'm not significant. Stephen, I'm not significant. This is the trap. This is an interesting conversation because this has been coming up. This is one of those patterns that we talked about it earlier today. Literally hours ago we were having this conversation where it's like and I said this to Alex also. We were talking about like why celebrate wins at the beginning of strategy calls. And this came up, this exact thing. It's like in saying we want something,
Yeah.
we're creating this like we're like taking it, we're like putting it away, we're like sneaking it off. We're like, I don't have it, I don't have this thing over here, I don't have it over here, don't look over here, I want it, it's over there, I don't have it, it's over here. Which again, so but here's the thing. I'm saying this. I'm like, da da da. Of course, it's obvious. But I've been trained by a master of human behavior to understand how the mind works, and I have a belief system that says nothing is missing, and that anything that I can perceive in someone else, I have within myself. And I say that, and I'm like, there's so much meaning in what I just said. Anything I see in someone else or out in the world or in my environment, I have within myself. And so to even make the statement that I want something is to ignore something I already have, right? So to complain about something is to say I don't have something I should have, or I do have something I wish I didn't have, neither of which are real actualities. And so people must be getting something out of saying like I want to be significant. I'm not significant. I want to be significant. And so what you're saying is, well, then why would you go do something that you need to be significant to do, dipshit? Like, good job, right? Like, you don't become an entrepreneur in building a business. An entrepreneur builds a business, is what you're saying. You don't become a swimmer by swimming. A swimmer swims. You don't become beautiful by doing beautiful things. A beautiful person does beautiful things. So someone who climbs Mount Everest doesn't become that by climbing it. A person who climbs Mount Everest climbs it. And a person who climbs Mount Everest will climb Mount Everest with all of the resources and all of the things they need to climb Mount Everest, because they'll show up prepared. They'll show up embodying the incremental nature of the goal or the action that they want to take. And someone who thinks Everest will make them an Everest climber will show up unprepared and delusional because they've disowned the part of themselves that is necessary to do the thing they say they want. And in saying they want it, they're saying they don't have it, which is to fail to acknowledge and appreciate themselves. And all of that can be cured. Why is it so hard, Stephen? Why is this so hard? Why is it so hard? All of that can be cured by asking a different question, which is, if I think I'm missing something, where do I have it? If I think I'm missing significance, what you said was, where have I been significant? Where am I significant? And where will I be significant? Not, I'm not significant and I wish I was, so fuck the world and fuck my life. And an existential crisis. Yeah. It's a good name for this show we started.
Well, and the worst part too is, like, if I don't, like, let's say you have, like, there's 6 human needs that I've learned about here. It's like there's certainty, there's uncertainty, which is really a variety. There's significance, there's connection and love, and there's growth and contribution. And it's like, let's say that I'm not significant. I'm saying fuck you to my life.
Yeah.
I'm basically looking at my history book and saying it's fucking useless. I'm totally not significant because I just exist. And like, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, I could have a whole thing on that where it's like, oh, you're not significant. Oh, okay, well, check it out. How many billions of years did it take for some crazy-ass cell division to go on to create your ability to see the fucking sunset? Just that is pretty fucking amazing. Like, goddamn, like, that's pretty fucking rare in the universe. So it's like, from that perspective, it's fucking significant. Significance is innate. But if we don't actually have, like, that ability, and it's not even an ability, it's a choice, really. A person has to decide to say, you know what, I'm going to look at myself and say I'm significant. I want to look for it. I want to go see it. The problem with not seeing it and holding on to the idea that you're not significant is that you run the ability of, because I'm not significant, I don't have any values. I'm not valuable. And so therefore, if I'm not valuable, I'm not standing in my values, I'm going to automatically start injecting everyone else's values. And then I'm never going to get around to living my actual life. I'm going to keep trying to be something I'm not. I'm going to keep playing in the fantasies. I'm going to keep hiring the next fucking mentor, or doing the next fucking thing, or investing in the next seminar, or whatever the fuck it is, to compensate for this literal emotion which is driving me freaking crazy. And it's like, how about we, like, let's just do ourselves a fucking service.
Yeah.
I tell this to my clients, I'm like, look, just do yourself a fucking service. Who gives a fuck whether it's right or wrong? Who gives a fuck how you feel about it? Who gives a fuck whether you believe it's true or false, or whether you feel you're lying to yourself? Who gives a fuck? You live this life once. Like, get over it. Fucking let's go. And, like, let's go and look. Where are you fucking significant? Like, you are significant to your rabbits.
Fuck yeah, I
Jen
am.
is significant to the rabbits.
Dude, they love us.
Right?
They need us. Like, that little fucker, he's like, pet me, I love you. You are the most important thing to me in your life.
Like, who made this mic?
I don't know.
Whoever is involved in making this mic is significant now.
I was just thinking that earlier today. I'm sitting here. We've got this thing. We've got these microphones. Remember when I would, like, complain? We would try to do shows where we talk to each other. like 3 months ago,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there's like this shitty Yeti microphone, like 10 feet from both of us. And we're trying to have like a 3-person conversation. And I'm like, this is the worst. It sounds horrible. I'm like adding up the dollar signs. I'm like, there's fucking payroll happening. There's a whole company filming this fucking show right now. You know? I have to spend thousands of dollars storing this 4K footage we're recording that sounds like shit. You know? And why did it take me so long to buy these? Finally, I'm just like, I get on Amazon and it's like $230. Problem solved. Here's some really great microphones. And now the people listening to this don't have like this like sound happening, you know? They can hear the tonality of my voice, and if I get too close, my breathing. But it's significant. It's significant because it adds up to a lot. Like, this is how we connect with the world. This is how people figure out we exist and, like, give us money.
Yeah.
How the fuck does this have anything to do with growth?
Well, here's what I've figured out. If you, let's say you don't have any certainty, like you don't have any certainty in your life, and you don't have any variety, and you don't feel significant, and you don't feel connected to anybody,
Yeah.
you don't feel connected to yourself,
Let's make this more specific, okay?
yeah,
I love your concepts. Let me add some color and flavor. Can we start again?
yeah,
Where did you start?
certainty.
Certainty. Let's create a story. I'm going to create a fictional character. My name's Jeff. And I don't subscribe to religion. And I just can't understand how the universe, like, I don't even want to talk about how the universe came to exist because it scares the fuck out of me. Like, lightning hit some clay and then there was a fucking fish. And then there was humans. Right? Like, most people are like this. No, very few people,
Yeah.
Stephen, go spend 150 hours reading a fucking textbook with John DeMartini to explore the 37 different theories on how life happened to create meaning and certainty. Like, nobody does that. So, like, the average person out there who has just, like, tried to work in life and make money and pay their bills and take care of their kids and shit, they're not like carving out time on the weekends to drop some acid and contemplate how life emerged. So they're pretty uncertain, you know? They don't know if their wife is going to leave them or not because they're lacking connection and love. They impulse married or they knocked each other up. And now they're in it for the fucking kids and whatever. They secretly don't like each other. Or not secretly. So at any moment, right?
Yeah.
They dread going home because, like, we have stories about some of these men. Go home, I'd say hi to my dogs, kiss my kids to bed, and then I'd finally say hi to the mother of my children. You know, type shit. No connection and love happening there. Downwards towards the kids, but, like, you know, missing. Probably working a dead-end job or a job that doesn't matter to them because their parents said, grow up, go to school, get a job. And hasn't grown because they became overcommitted the minute they finished university and realized they had $100,000 in student loans that they were going to be a slave to their entire life. And ever since then, it's been a treadmill just to survive. There's no growth happening. We're just surviving. And so therefore, because their company that they work for doesn't have a mission or values that matter, doesn't do the Rockefeller habits, and has no one-page strategic plan or any connection to meaning, they don't feel that they're contributing. They feel that they're just, like, hammering out the widgets at work. Continue now.
I mean, that sucks.
Isn't it
It's a
horrible?
shit situation.
Isn't it horrible?
You know?
What about the people who put on a good show? Let's do a version of this for the person who puts on a good show but is actually just as equally fucked.
Fair.
We know some of these people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They have no money. They're leveraged. They say they're an entrepreneur, but they really haven't come close to figuring it out. They don't have a team. It's not even paycheck to paycheck because they can't depend on a paycheck. It's like hand to mouth, customer to debt repayments, if they even pay their debt. Trying to convince customers to give them money by selling a product they don't fully believe in because they know their fuck ups. That's the same kind of shitty in life. But I feel like it's made more shitty because they have to put on a good show.
Yeah, because they have something to prove.
At least the person who works a job isn't trying to like go convince people on Facebook to buy their shit. Right? Like,
And that's the thing too. Like if you know, like I enjoy coaching people. I enjoy helping people, but not to the level that I would like want to sacrifice time away from my family or time away from my music.
you did though.
You know, and I did, and it was in a moment where I had to. You know, so it's like needs create, you know, certain experiences. But at the same time, it's like without a need to do it, it's like there's still this lingering of I still want to. You know? And I think that's like I think a key difference between a person who's actually growing versus a person who just says they want to and is living in an illusion. A person who is not looking to, or has at least at some level like figured out that they're significant, has figured out that they have some level of certainty that they like, you know. And that's the thing, because David talks about it where he's like, you could be certain that you think your mother was a bitch.
Yeah, you can manufacture
Right.
certainty.
Right. So it's like, like what kind of certainty do you want?
I'm certain that the bus is going to drive by every X number of minutes and like make that stupid psst, beep 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 sound. You know, the bus does that all the time.
Yeah, so it's like there's like when we get like taking it down to like the moment with like the presence, what's actually happening. It's like you can manufacture these things.
Yeah.
And oddly
These
enough,
6 things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which are what again? Core human needs?
Core human needs. Yeah.
Okay.
6 human needs.
Yeah.
And in doing so, it's like then you are at a point where you're like, well, I don't need that, and I don't need that, and I don't need that, or this, or that, or this, or this, or that, or anything else like that. So then, what is it I actually need? And that's a much better question.
So let's back this up a second. Because I often feel like people are just on these runaway trains. Like this runaway train. And life seems a lot more simple than a lot of people make it out to be. Like, reasons become stacked on top of one another. So it's like, I need to do this thing. I need to build a marketing funnel by next Saturday. Because this other thing happened and I had a goal and someone told me that virtual retreats are a thing. And so because virtual retreats are a thing and I can't do my live events, I'm going to go do this. And all of that's because I have a machine that says, like, I need to make money. So I have to do marketing. And that's happening because, like, I hired some people. And I hired those people because I thought I needed their help because there was tasks in my business that I didn't want to do. Or that I felt were painful. So I hired them. Now I have bills to pay. And I have bills to pay because, you know, just keep like winding it backwards and backwards and backwards. And it's like, there's never a good time to just stop and question, like, what the fuck is happening here? You know?
And oddly enough, those are the moments when people need the most.
Right? I've had clients who literally fought me. They're like, Alexander, let's do quarterly planning. And I'm like, great. I think quarterly planning should follow this really rigid agenda that is guaranteed to produce a specific result. And they're like, you know what? I think any other time would be a good time to follow the agenda, but this would be a great time to just fuck your agenda and make it up as we go. And I was like, what? What? Like, if that's how this is going to be, like, I'm going to exit the call. We're not doing this. You could literally come up with any excuse at any time not to do the thing that's going to help you grow. I think this is going to help you grow because it's going to force you to, like, calm your nervous system, create space between stimulus and response, and, like, whatever fucking person yelled at you 8.5 minutes ago, just, like, put them aside and put last week's emergency aside and just put things aside. Let's create the space and let's do the thing that's going to help us figure out why your life is screwed up. And it's really hard to figure out why you're not growing and why your life is screwed up when it's like this leads to this, 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 and so therefore this. And I'm like, what? I don't feel like it's that complicated. We had this conversation, I think, 2 weekends ago or a weekend ago, where it's like, if you don't have any money in the bank, and you don't have any savings, and you definitely have a mortgage, and maybe a kid to feed, and a business that doesn't produce a guaranteed amount of money every month, or an income that produces a guaranteed amount of money every month, then you're at risk of losing that income or not having the income. It's safe to say you might feel anxious. And so maybe you don't have an anxiety problem. Maybe you have a money problem, right? Like, just a thought. Like, it's almost as if our brain has evolved to make sure we're mitigating risk and surviving as a species. And people are so quick to be like, no.
Your anxiety isn't real.
Yeah. Don't be a downer. Don't be a downer. Don't have anxiety. Your anxiety, just think happy thoughts.
Yeah.
Or like, life doesn't need to be stressful. It's like, actually, it fucking does. There's like predators and shit. Like, there's a predator. There's 6 predators here. The predator of not being significant, the predator of not having connection and love. And in my world, it feels like these are just like check boxes. Like, I'm not in charge of telling the universe how much money I should make. That's not how this works. I make as much money as there's like a system for. And some people have systems that produce relatively more money or relatively less money per unit of effort or whatever. And I should probably just try to build a system where there's more money coming in than money going out. And until I have that system, the figurative I, because like I've built that system here and like we feed like 8 fucking families. Before that, I had a business where I had 6 employees and I hadn't figured it out. You know how stressful that was? It was so stressful to be like, man, am I going to have to like fire 6 people and like midnight move out of my office and like tuck my tail between my legs and owe my parents money and all kinds of shit? Like, that wasn't like, if someone came to me in that moment and they were like, your life doesn't have to be painful, I would like punch them in the face. I'd be like, motherfucker, what are you talking about? I'm about to fire 6 people. They're gonna not have a job now because I didn't figure out how to make money. And I tried hard. And it was like, well, just because you work hard doesn't mean you get money. That's not how it works. But now that I do make money, like, I look back at my life and I'm like, I'm way less stressed. Like, I'm way less stressed. I'm willing to tell my customers to fuck off now. Before, it's like I couldn't tell are you kidding? It's like, oh my God, what if they leave? I'll have even less money. Now I'm like, I don't need your money. Because I don't. I'm not making it up. I'm not like, I need your money. I don't fucking need your money. Like, it's like real, right? It's real. I've collected it. I feel like I've gone out into the world and I'm like, it's in my bag now. It's like I have it. But before I didn't have it. So I know what that feels like. So if you were like, Alexander, you should grow, before I had like figured out the money thing, I'd be like, fuck you, growth. What do you mean grow? I don't have any money. I don't need growth, I need money. I'm just thinking there's like that stupid Facebook metaphor. It's like a meme. It's like, if a flower doesn't grow, you wouldn't blame the flower, would you? And it's like, no, of course not. You blame the environment. But humans are flowers that control their environment.
And or controlled by their environment.
Yeah, well, and both, yeah. Yeah, we're the flower and the... We're like a... Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the most meaningful things I learned from that book, Never Ending Quest, was that, you can study all humans, and all humans will, at some level, display the characteristics of wherever their environment is.
Yeah.
You can easily... I mean, John says the same thing. It's like, how do you fill your space?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you exactly who you are.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. And so, like, the environment has, like... It's a dangerous game. Like, there's an existentialism there that so many people get into, where it's like, if I just, love myself enough, or if I just do enough work,
If I just increase my self-worth enough.
right, that my environment will somehow just magically change, or I magically won't be affected by my environment, and I don't need to worry about it. And then, and I play that game too. And then like 6 months later, it's like I'm still sick, I'm still coughing, I'm still have a runny nose every day, I still have watery eyes every day. Maybe the carpet that I'm living with that's in the basement is moldy and I should get the hell out of here. And I did. And then I'm like instantly healthier. And it's like, wow, look at that. What an interesting thing to do. It's like I don't care what kind of quantum magical shit you've got going on. It's like if you buy an apartment inside of an active nuclear reactor, you're probably not going to survive very well, and so it's like you can't get out of that stuff. These things matter, so it's like, again, there's a promotion in the world that's kind of a new age thing. It's kind of a, let's say, self-help paradigm that says no matter what the experience is, it doesn't have to affect you. You can transcend the experience, you can do all that stuff. The problem with that is that it is massively disrespectful to the amount of impact that the environment has on a person. And the danger with that kind of teaching is that you come across, or you can get into the situation where you're like, I don't need to change anything. I can just inflate myself and my ego in how smart I am, and of convincing myself I've got this figured out, and then never have to change anything. And, the mind can only battle that for so long until you hedonically adapt to your new paradigm, and then you're back at square one. So it's like you might as well had stopped in the beginning and said, what do I need to change in my life? Like in my house? What do I need to move? Maybe my mouse is on the wrong fucking side of my desk.
Yeah.
Maybe my desk is in the wrong fucking place in the house, and maybe I can just do very simple things that if I did would help me maximize more of what's so-called good in my life as opposed to what's not.
Yeah, I mean, I think growth, one of the ways to grow is to do exactly that. Change your environment. Change the resources. Change the form of, like, put the resources you have to better use. I mean, shit, like, look at this place. Like, we just bought $15,000 worth of cameras. And these microphones. And this cool TV. And, like, does that mean I did grow? Or did buying them... the internet celebrity buys the cameras. Buying the camera doesn't make the celebrity. Right? Like, For these cameras to manifest here, I first had to change. Did change. But what caused the change?
Disappointment.
Dissatisfaction.
Dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
Right?
Dude, no. I don't have to be... No, I don't need to be negative. Dude, negativity isn't necessary.
That's the pleasure of dissatisfaction. The thing is, it's so true. It's like dissatisfaction. I'm dissatisfied.
I'm one of the most dissatisfied people.
Right? And so like it's like what does that really mean about yourself to be dissatisfied?
It means I have like...
It means you have some part of you that says I've overgrown or outgrown the bullshit that I was in.
This could be better.
And I have a better idea.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to value myself enough to the point where I'm going to move in that direction.
How do you reconcile that against the people who are dissatisfied but don't do jack shit about it?
They're not dissatisfied enough.
Or they make a show of dissatisfaction?
Or it's meeting one of these needs.
Or their dissatisfaction is related to the
Or
needs.
they could also be hooked onto the personal development bandwagon, where it's like, I should just be grateful and appreciate everything.
I am grateful for my shitty Yeti microphone. And I like these microphones. It's like that serves its purpose. It sits in front of me at my desk.
Yeah.
Using it here sucked. Using these at my desk would be, I don't know, silly. Like, I don't need this there. It's like, that's unnecessary. It just seems like... I'm confused.
There's an amazing, like, John would talk about it in the sense of, like, you have both sides.
Yes.
You have the positive and negative side. And, you know, I, like many other, like, personal development junkies, hooked onto that in a very biased way and basically said that, if I just can twist around what I'm negative about, I won't have to be negative kind of thing. And what I recognize long term is that the more you try and be grateful for things that you don't need to be grateful for, really, you start affirming that, you know what, I don't like that and I do like that, which builds variety in your life, which is one of the needs.
Uh-huh.
It builds certainty,
Uh-huh.
right? It also builds significant because I'm the one deciding what's right or what's wrong for me.
Yeah.
Which means you actually empower your values by being equally negative.
Sure.
You know?
What makes me better at being negative than other people? Because it seems to me like we've discussed two ways of being negative. Like, fuck the man, I'm going to go live in BC out of a truck or whatever. And it's delusional and it's existential, right? Versus, I'm done with these cameras. Plus, instead of 2 cameras, I want 3 cameras, and then I actually bought the cameras. What's the difference between someone who's upset because they should be successful as an entrepreneur and someone like me who's committed to quarterly rituals, disciplines, team leadership management, and the skills necessary to actually incrementally build a business? Like, is it values? Is it like specificity of thought? Is it letting emotions run away? Like, what's the difference between me doing 110 episodes of a weekly show, becoming, I mean, and honestly, in the face of very little, like, for the amount of effort that I've put into being on the internet as a brand relative to how many people watch my videos, like, I could just see someone be like, fuck this, fuck that, I deserve better, you know? Why do I... What principles do I abide by that cause me to grow where others will simply complain?
I think you recognize that resources equals ability.
Uh-huh.
That's a huge piece for people.
Can you just say it again?
Like, resources equal ability.
Explain.
it's very easy to be upset with your life when you have a shitty Yeti mic and the wind's blowing in your face
Yeah.
and nothing's being picked up.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck, I need a new fucking microphone, or I need a studio, or I need something, and I don't have the resources to create it. That can be extremely frustrating.
Oh, so I have the resources.
Yeah, you've decided, you discovered at some point that, you know what, not that it's too painful to not have that one resource that would have mattered. So I'm going to make a commitment in my life to make sure that I have that resource and build a system around it, which means you have also identified that growth isn't just happy-go-lucky sitting on the beach drinking margaritas. You've also recognized that growth is a consequence of work.
It just seems naturally to me that I can only do what I can with what I have. It's like to look at the resources I'm observing square in the face and say, I should be able to do or have more than what is sitting on the table in front of me is a waste of time. Like, I've received financing in my life, but beyond the money that I've borrowed, I have built this place from scratch on the back of pure willpower. And if I were to have at any moment approached this circumstance from the perspective that I'm going to behave this month as if I have twice as much money in the bank as I do, there would be no measurable genius. Or like somehow I should be able to do more in a day than I can do in a day. Like, that has always been it's been very strange to me how someone can live their life without understanding their profit and loss statement. It seems just dysfunctional. Like, what the fuck are they doing exactly if they don't know how much money they're making? If they're even making money or not? Why do people... So is growth a function of, like, management of my... is one way to look at growth, like, appreciating and managing resources more effectively? Like, is that the metric for growth? Because I think lots of people are trained that, like, money isn't everything, Alexander. It's like, of course not. Of course not. Of course not, money isn't everything. But if I don't have an accounting of my resources, how the fuck am I going to do anything at all? That seems like a paradox. Like, is growth like the accumulation and the management of, like, resources? And so it's like, it's not a narcissistic thing, but it's like more resources for the person who's grown the most. Is that how it works? And how do we reconcile that against people who apparently, like, are anti-personal development and don't give a shit or just have never been exposed to it, but somehow they end up with, like, fuckloads of money and they just, like, party and do drugs and, you know, like,
Yeah.
how do we reconcile that? Because it's not linear then.
No, it's not. And, like, I've learned also that just because, I mean, that's one of those things. It's like, you know, I could share it in an example that's personal to me because, you know, as you know, I own, like, 23 guitars.
Oh my God. I didn't know.
You know?
I didn't know that.
And it's like, do I play 23 guitars? No. Probably half of them are in various order of disarray.
Yeah.
Need a lot of work to make work again. And so why did I do that? You know, like, I'm 36 right now. I spent most of my life collecting guitars. And in the last few years, that's been less and less and less. And
less guitar purchases?
Yeah.
Good.
Right?
You're getting better.
And also other equipment. It's like, you know, now that I have a real studio at home, I have pretty much everything I could possibly want at this moment to be able to learn how to create more and, like, do more with what I have. I'm finding I'm playing less guitars, so I don't need them. I'm considering selling most of them. but I asked myself that question, like, what's the difference here? Like, why
I
did
know
that
what it
change?
is. I know what it is when I look at you. Okay? This is what it is. When you had an identity that you wanted to like play music, but you weren't sure how you wanted to do it,
Yeah.
the guitar was like the way for you to like express that part of you. Like I'm just imagining it's like in order to affirm my certainty and my identity in the significance
Yeah.
and the variety and the certainty and grow in my sort of ignorant kind of way, like as a younger man, you're like, all I know how to do is buy more guitars, right? But then like as you gain experience and like start to like decide for yourself how you would want to put those guitars to use, you realize like I didn't need 23 guitars. Like the identity becomes more refined.
Yep.
And so then like the letting go of guitars isn't really like even a letting go. It's like I've accumulated a resource. I've become more specific about how I would apply that resource. So now it's like it's just logical. Like let's convert that resource back into money, so you can put that money into like a more fulfilling and a more grown experience of musicianship.
Yep. I'm in an area in my life right now where I'm like, once you get a guitar that you like, you should keep it
Yeah.
and stick with it
Yeah.
and really learn how to play it.
Yeah.
You know, because I look at it and that's one of those things. It's like I didn't just buy any guitars. I bought like the Steve Vai guitars and the Joe Satriani guitars, all the gods of guitar playing. I bought their guitars. Why would I buy their guitars? Because I want to sound like them.
Cause well, and you thought
You know.
it was a way to affirm and to explore. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a bad thing. I
Yeah,
don't think.
No, it's totally served. But now I see it differently. It's like if you learn how to master one thing. Like I look at Van Halen as a good example. Like he built his own guitar.
Yeah.
And so he didn't know he was going to get it right.
Yeah.
And he fucked with it 1,000 times to make it better. But he never made another one. He just kept that one and learned how to work it. You know? And that really is, I mean, it's kind of like a musical application of yoga. And that's kind of what started that for me. Because I was in my head, I was like existential crisis mode for most of my life, I think. And when I started to get into yoga and just get into the body and like just fucking stop, pause things down, you know, just give myself this, 2-hour class or whatever, and sometimes it would be 10 hours of yoga, but
That's a lot of yoga.
yeah, it became a way to get significance, and to have certainty in doing all these things. But what that also taught me was that you need to learn who you are. Like I'm a firm believer. You should touch yourself in the shower. Everywhere. Everywhere. Just go for it. Figure out who you are. And then from there, it's like find out what else you have. Like go around your house and just observe what's there. Like what kind of couch do you have? What do you have on your wall? Like go and figure out who you are and literally spend time with that. Because it's so easy to like identify and like have a scattered identity, I think, and that's really existential crisis, where you have all these ideas, all these influences, all these agendas and vectors and thoughts and dreams and aspirations.
Half baked.
Yeah, and they're all schizoid. And when it like the process of like getting into what is observing what actually is. So like look at your environment, find out what it is.
Yeah.
And do you like it or do you not like it? Like I if I was really honest to myself, the whole time I was trying to like do the method to be grateful for my basement apartment in Rosedale, Toronto, that I was overpaying for and dealing with health issues because I had a moldy fucking carpet. I mean, did I really like the place? If I'm honest with myself, no, I never liked it. So why did I do it? I did it because I wanted to live in Rosedale, because it was like the rich area, and I figured that was an easy way to do it, live in someone's basement. And
Yeah.
It worked. But I also recognized walking down Rosedale that, you know what? These people still wake up at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m. They get in their cars, they go to work, like everyone else.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow, this didn't really do anything that I thought it was going to do. It didn't make me richer. It didn't make me more important. It didn't do this. It didn't do that. I'm still me. And so, like, the question is like, well, who am I? Who is that?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's, and, you know, I'm not one to say that anyone answers that early in life, or shouldn't have to go through also anything you've gone through to figure that out. But I think it's an incredibly important question to ask yourself.
Well, and repeatedly, I think that's a characteristic that I embody. It's like, it's a fucking existential crisis. Like, I am the master at this over here. Like, sometimes my clients ask me a question and I'm just like, poof, out into outer space. Because I'm like, they're asking that question because they think this and because it leads to this and it depends on this constraint and that constraint depends on this and this doesn't exist that way. And so therefore, you know, like I'm just like 9 layers deep and they're just like, "Can you just tell me a deadline?" You know, and I'm like, no, I can't. I literally fucking can't because it's impossible. And the fact that you don't see that it's impossible makes me question my reality, you know? But it's so true. Like, for those of you listening who have no clue what the fuck we just said when we were talking about like observing your reality, John DeMartini, who is a common mentor of ours, teaches a process called the value determination process. And he basically says that you are what you value. And what I love about John's work and what I think has made me really good at applying this concept is that if you are what you value, and what you value are resources, you are your resources, right? It's like X equals Y and Y equals Z, then X equals Z. Like, I am my resources. And there's this thing that happens in the personal development world where when you're taught to appreciate things, I think how a lot of people choose to interpret this, or a lot of people who get hung up or fucked up by this particular personal development bend, is that they then have to appreciate everything that causes them pain, or else they're not doing it right, or they're breaking the will of some god or authority. Like, they martyr themselves on their problems from that point forward because it's like, my job is to appreciate every problem, or else I'm being ingrateful. But there's infinite fucking problems in life. There's more problems than you could ever appreciate. And so I think what you're saying has wisdom in it. It's like, we need to prioritize our effort. And if there's a resource in our life that we're using in a particular way, or there's a certain structure to our environment that we've created for ourselves, or there's something in our environment that's causing us pain, there's no rule that says you have to appreciate it right now. Like, maybe change it and then appreciate. You can always appreciate it later. Like,
Yeah.
you can appreciate it later. You can appreciate your moldy fucking rug once you're gone. And now you know what it's like not to live with a moldy fucking rug. How do you appreciate it without contrast anyway?
I
Right?
think that's a huge point too.
You
It's
can't
how do
appreciate it
you-
without contrast.
Right.
So change it first, appreciate it later.
Yeah.
Don't get stuck in life in the current moment trying to appreciate the thing causing you pain right now. Fix the thing causing you pain and then appreciate the pain after. Could be two-step process.
Yeah, it's one of those. I don't think it's taught in that way, but it is something that people get hung up on, which it's kind of in the language of, once I'm grateful for it, it'll magically change.
Yeah, or change it and then be
Or
grateful for it.
change it and then be fucking grateful for it. I know
Yeah.
a person in my life who, I've known them for 12 years now, and only, thank God, in the last few months, did they start to get their life together. And because every time they get on the phone with me, they want a coach or whatever, and I'd just be like, I got to a point where I'm like, I'm not going to get on the phone with you because I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
The same thing's going to go down. And now, she has a boyfriend, she takes walks, she's done things to change her environment. She's actually done things to change the habits and the rituals that she was stuck in.
Yeah.
And now, consequently, she's living a different life, and she doesn't have all these existential crisis things anymore. I really think that, like, existential crisis for most people, especially people who are stuck in personal development, is a consequence of, like, thinking that you can grow without actually taking the actions to grow.
Is that like getting something without paying the bill?
Pretty much. And the other part of that, which is the side of it that says, now that I can be grateful for something that's terrible in my life, I should go on a binge and be grateful for everything because I can. That's really just a mechanism of attempting to get significance. And one of the things I've grown into suggesting people try is that's okay, and that's an incredibly powerful thing to do. However, there's also an incredible power, let's just say, if I'm affected by things in my life that are terrifyingly upsetting to me, whether that's an experience or a thought or anything like that, or something not working out, I would also question, well, how much integrity do you have around being grateful for the things that are going well? I really think that there's an abundance of ability for people to appreciate what's going well in their life and acknowledge themselves for creating it. And in doing so would increase their level of, let's say, self-worth resonance, and therefore be less willing to, like, negotiate with drama or pain. It's I had one client a few years ago where I get on the phone with her. I apparently have a lot of female clients, but I get on the phone with her, and I'm just like, let me have it. And she rants off like 60 items in her life that are all fucked up, and I have my facilitator hat on, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go and fix all this shit. I'm gonna be great. And when it really came down to it, it was all because all those emotions that like all these things happening, it was all one simple emotion. I brought it back and found out that her father was a drunk and abusive and all that kind of thing. And the one memory that she had where he was actually a father to her and he taught her how to ride a horse, she got up on the horse as like a 5-year-old, and the horse bucked and she fell off. And so in the one moment where father is actually being a father to me, she now has the perception that I failed. And so then it's like, oh man, I've got all this shit in my life, and the one moment where I didn't have shit, I failed. This is shit, right? And I did my own processes on that. I got her to recognize herself in that moment, that her father couldn't have done that without her. And that was a big work for me to do too, because I saw a huge, I was able to see the impact that something like that has on someone, because she literally went from being suicidal and bulimic to being an entrepreneur who's running a company now, happily married, with a child now, in the span of less than 5 years. And she doesn't have any of the symptoms anymore. She's off the medications because of one thing. And I didn't deal with any of the pain. I didn't deal with any of the suffering, nothing like that. I just went to what was already good, and I got her to appreciate herself and her ability to co-create it, and everything else just shifted. So I think that there's one of the biggest challenges in the work of, like, you only grow through your challenges. It's missing out on a big component. And I think that component has a lot to do with your self-worth. And if you have a higher level of self-worth, the things that might have already affected you before you earned self-worth, would have affected you because you're diminished. But if you increase that, the likelihood that you're going to give a shit about dealing with any of those problems is very low. And I personally call that strategic bypassing. I think people have taken the word bypassing and put a negative word on it. There's nothing wrong with bypassing, so long as it's strategic.
Well, fucking prioritize. We only have so much time. Like, there's only so much time.
Yeah.
And
my life has only grown since I started acknowledging what was good about it. There's always something else we can dwell on. you know?
Well, and the animal mind has been trained for billions of years to like look for the enemy and to like look for what's not working and to look for danger and to look for risk. And it's like there's no lions anymore. There's no there's no, well, unless you live in like South Africa or something, there's no animals coming to like steal your baby away in the middle of the night.
On a bike.
Yeah, you saw that monkey like rides up on a motorcycle, tries to steal a kid. Did you see that Facebook?
That was crazy.
I mean, accepting those circumstances, like, and so we've got the default mechanism of the mind is to look for danger. And there will always be danger. You can find what you look for.
Yeah.
There will be dissatisfaction. So, and you're not likely to grow effectively. So, this is going to see, but here's what we said at the beginning. We said that dissatisfaction leads to growth. But I think there's like, if our life is like a circle, and at the center of the circle is meaning, and at the edge of the circle is like life, we can spend forever at the edge of the circle getting nowhere. Or we can face the same feelings of dissatisfaction and also of progress through meaning. And so I think that like the distinction, I'm really trying to get to like a distinction between someone who is dissatisfied or frustrated or experiencing emotions or experiencing chaos or experiencing trauma or emotion or feeling like they need to do personal development work is the difference. So here's a question. Maybe this is it. If I'm doing all of that in reaction to my environment, then I'm being run by my environment.
Yeah.
If I do the exact same motor functions and the motor actions as a result of what I find meaningful, then I grow. And the entire spectrum of experience is available in both dynamics, right? In the dynamic where I give my power away to my environment and I do my personal development in response to my environment, and I breed dissatisfaction based on my environment, and I look for evidence only of what my environment presents to me, and I put my control and my sense of command into the environment, then I'm not going to grow. I think there's a very low probability or a very low consistency of growth because it's fucking random. It's just pure random chaos. It's like waking up in the morning and doing what my inbox tells me. Right? Or waking up in the morning and just like waiting. Let's see what happens today. It's like, are you fucking serious? What's happening today? I just wish I had freedom so I could just respond to my environment and like whatever the fuck is happening today, my Facebook newsfeed. Or I get to wake up in the morning and be dissatisfied relative to my own outwardly expressed, what do I call it? Whatever. My outer expressed mission, I guess. And in saying that, I'm realizing, like, clarification, like, people who are looking for their mission in their environment will always be looking.
Yes.
Like I'm realizing in this moment, I make my mission. I use my environment as, like, a feedback mechanism. But at the end of the day, it's not like my environment tells me what my mission is. Like, I choose my mission. I decide my mission. Nobody else decides it. I literally create my own meaning. Serendipity, synchronicity, it's like those things are nice, but we have to like filter a lot of fucking noise for them to like how do you know you're not just selectively biased in your attention to like, oh, this is synchronous? It's like, really? Because you see like 11:11 on the clock, like spirit guides are fucking talking to you? Really? That's what we're having a conversation about? Or it's like...
And that's still actually a victimization to the environment.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's not a symbol of some divine fucking guidance. that's like a schizophrenic meaning-seeking delusion because that person hasn't chosen. Oh, Jesus Christ. You know what? Growth comes from choice, dude. Growth and choice are the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, so many things are coming together for me right now. This is why people don't like asking questions. Because if they take ownership of the question, they're accountable to their own response to that question. They're accountable to the choice they have to make as a result of the question. It's so much easier to just like passively aggressively manipulate you into taking actions so I can continue to blame my environment for how shitty my life is and just like listen, Stephen fucking did it. Stephen just showed up and did the dick thing and now I'm suffering. Like I said that he should fucking, not do this thing, and then he did the thing. So just that's why my life is horrible. Right? Or if I have to be like, Steven, would you like to do this? And then you're like, yes. I'm like, fuck. Like now I have to choose if I want to do it. Right? So interesting. Growth comes from taking ownership of the creation of my own meaning in life, which is essentially demonstrated through how I choose, consciously or unconsciously, to transform my resources in and of my environment ongoingly. And if I'm complaining, I'm like, oh, I do or I don't have these resources. And until the universe changes them, I just can't be who I want to be. Right? It's like, no. Go figure it out. Figure it out or admit you fucking are giving up. Because it's not like you can't. Google it, dipshit. Everything on the fucking planet is on YouTube. Right? If you really wanted something, figure it out. I don't care if it takes 10 fucking years. You could figure it out. You can figure it out. You can figure out anything you want to fucking figure out. Anyone can. At any time. Right? When my mom's like, I don't know how to use my iPad. I need you to come help me. We can all agree she's just manipulating me into having a relationship with her. Because she could figure out her fucking iPad. Right? It would be more accountable for her to just be like, Alex, I want to spend time with you. Then she'd be accountable to her own growth. Right? It's interesting. That's so interesting. That's why I'm a good grower. Because I don't fucking wait for my environment to, like... I understand and I have a respect for my environment. Like, life is a fucking volcano. Don't touch lava. But... like, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to ask the person who owes me money to pay me. And I'm going to fucking go build a website. And I'm going to film the fucking video. And I'm going to buy the fucking cameras. I'm going to do the fucking things. Because the only thing stopping me from being the person who I say I am would be the thing I haven't bought yet. It's just what I haven't bought yet. Literally. Or what I haven't sold, or what I haven't gotten rid of, or what resource I haven't transformed. We're talking about it as we're setting up this studio. It's like, man, it'd be great if these fucking shelves weren't here. And I look across the room at a fucking piano I've literally never touched. And the thought goes through my head. I'm like, why do I have this? Like, it meant something at the time I bought it. And now it doesn't, and I'd rather put shelves there. The question is, am I going to just, like, put that decision on a shelf? Am I gonna like victimize Steven, I have nowhere to put my shelves. You know what you should say to me? Sell the piano, fucker. Right? Like, there's room for shelves. Sell the fucking piano. Oh, okay. Problem solved, I guess. Nothing to complain about here. Move along. So why don't people just do that? Why don't people just change their fucking environment? Why don't they just like take command of their life and do the things? Why is it drama all the time? Like, why'd this happen? Why'd that happen? Why'd this happen? It's like, because decisions were made or they weren't made. Because you're more committed to your environment than you are to your mission. you're more committed to, you have greater faith in your environment than you do to your own capacity to create meaning. Like, is that?
I think it's a big part of it, and I think that, at least this is the way that I've discovered it, is that you have to go through experiences to, like, build up enough evidence that says that you're good enough. And I'm not a huge fan of, like, the industry terminology of, I am enough and all this kind of stuff, because I really think that there's an amazing amount of blessings that occur when you acknowledge that you're just fucking not.
Enough for what?
Exactly. But here's the thing. Like, if I'm walking around as a musician, and I'll speak from that context, it's only very recently that I've really taken responsibility of my musicianship desires and, decided that, what, I'm a really good video editor, and that's really no different than audio software, so why do I have this paradigm that says I don't know audio software? That's stupid. I can learn, right? But in doing so, there's two things that happen. Number one, I had to acknowledge that, what, right now I'm not enough for this software.
Like, you don't know how to do it.
I don't know how to do it. I'm not enough.
That's fine. Were you feeling like it wasn't fine?
Well, in the context of, like, the personal development paradigm, where everyone's like, they're trying to, like, hashtag I am.
Yeah, but tell me how you were feeling. Like, were you literally like, I don't know how to use this audio software, and that makes me like a shitty person, or
shitty musician? Like, I can't produce music. So what am I doing?
Really?
I'm unfulfilled, not happy. I'm not good enough. That shows up.
I know I'm not good enough for who though?
Yeah, and that's exactly the thing.
Is this like, I don't want to offend anyone who might have Asperger's, but, like, I've been labeled Asperger-y. Like, I'm just sitting here being like, what the fuck are you talking about? Good enough for who? What?
And I think that goes into, like, whoever you're injecting.
Okay.
Whoever you've taken it, like, in my life, there were musicians that I looked up to, like Leslie West.
Okay.
Like, Led Zeppelin. Let's say Grand Funk Railroad was a good one for me.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, Shania Twain was one too. I jived with that. I thought.
Does she know how to do that software?
No. Definitely not as good as I can now.
Okay.
It's so interesting because, like, I looked up to these guitar players, and, like, I practice and I practice and I practice and I practice, and eventually, I'm 36 now, and, like, I don't look up to Leslie West anymore. I'm like, I could walk all over this guy right now.
Sure.
And does that change, like, how I felt about it in the past? No, but what it does create is, like, the significance of, what, if I wanted to, I could. And so therefore, because I have that potentiality, I look at the next side, like the next step of music, and I'm like, how does it all work together? And then there's, like, sequencing I had to figure out. So it's like priorities come into that, where it's like, hey, today I'm going to calendar bass, and next day I'm going to do keyboards, then we're going to do this, and we're going to see what happens. And we're going to label everything and make sure I can make sense of it all and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like...
Figure out scales.
Right. And part of that had to come from, like, also overcoming my own form of, like, let's say, not good enough. And the way I overcame it was not by, like... This is the thing that like, musicians are... I'm really grateful I'm a musician because I get to have, like, a different conversation in relation to that psychology of, like, I am enough, hashtag.
Okay.
Because the reality is, if you just pick up a guitar, like, if I just gave you a guitar right now,
yeah,
and I said, go play Stairway to Heaven.
No, I'd be fucking horrible.
Right. So, are you going to just be like, oh, I'm enough for that? No, you're not. Like, you have to practice. There's biological things that have to be ingrained in order to play a song like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's normal for me to look at that paradigm of, like, I am enough and be like, that's retarded.
Well, but, like, I don't get it. People think this way?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
A lot of people.
What do you mean? Like, you suck at guitar. Why doesn't someone just say to them, you suck at this? Like, you suck at this, and it's fine.
And it's fine.
It's fine that you suck at this. Have you spent any time doing it? No. Have you studied any chords? No. Then you suck at this. Why are you trying to not suck at this?
I think that's the thing, because in people when they're doing, like when someone wants to do something that's outside of their values, let's say they've got a fantasy set up. If they don't have the fantasy, then they're left in their shitty environment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but start at the beginning. Someone has a shitty environment.
Someone has a shitty environment.
Okay.
They're not dealing with it.
Where they're not caring for themselves properly.
Right.
Okay.
And so what they're going to do is they're going to build up a fantasy that says I have to go and be someone else to create a different life, to instantly change what I currently have and not deal with taking the shit out of the garage.
Okay.
Right. I just have to instantly change everything. And in that state where a person's hooked onto the fantasy for their significance and their feelings,
yeah,
they are not going to want to see and own where they're not good enough.
So when I come along and I'm like, you suck at guitar, that's going to make them mad.
Probably. Yeah.
I do this so often, though. I literally said it to a client today. He's like, I'm going to go do this thing. I was like, I hear you. And you've been pretty horrible traditionally at doing any of the things you say you're going to do. Like, I just said it. I was like, that's great. I love that you think you're going to go do that. And I don't think you are going to. So how can I support you in doing it? And he looks at me. He's like, like, this is important to me. So I think I'm going to schedule it and I'm going to do it. And I was like, okay. Like, I guess we'll see. I guess we'll find out together. And, like, I'm totally loving of it. I mean, when I react to their frustration about their shit not being done, and I'm like, it's because you didn't do your homework. They're like, but I wanted to. And I'm like, I know, we both wanted you to, and it's fine. I still love you. They're like, yeah, but I don't love myself. They're like, you know what I'm saying? It's so funny. They're like, I hate it when Alexander loves me when I don't love myself. And I'm like, but you suck at this. Like, can we just work with the reality that you suck at this, please?
There's nothing wrong with sucking.
Oh my God.
Sucking is a blessing, man. Like, I did a work on that a year and a half ago where I got charged. Like, someone was in my social network and they were spouting off the I am enough stuff, and I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? You're damaging people. You're damaging people by giving them this illusion that they're better than they are. And because it's completely erroneous from what's actually going on.
Can you help me by being more... Can we help the audience here? Can you be specific? Because when you say you're not enough, I'm like, you're making me feel... I'm having an existential crisis every time you say that. Because it's not general. It's not general. It's not like, I'm good enough. It's like, I am not good at talking into a camera.
Yeah, people don't go to that level of definition, though.
What other fucking definition is there?
There's the one that just keeps them in existentialism.
Dude, this is the problem. This is the problem because, like, the fuck are we talking about? I'm not good enough? Not good enough at what? Not good enough at what?
And that would be the appropriate facilitator place to go, if this is right. But most people don't.
Yeah, and then just be like, guess what? You don't want to.
Yeah.
To me, this is simple. It's like the Behavior 101. I'm not good enough. Okay? Step 1. At fucking what? I'm not good enough at making money. Would be a good place to start. I'm not good enough at making money. Great. I'm not good enough at making money. Anything you're not good at that you're also not demonstrating any behavioral evidence to support that you're gonna do or that you are doing, you don't want to do. You don't want to do. So then step 3, because that's step 2, acknowledge you don't fucking want to do it. Mm-hmm. And then stop. That's my opinion. Just stop. Just stop doing it. Because this is like where every business owner who's delusional on the planet has an issue right here. Because they're like, I'm not good enough at what? Making money, doing offers, packaging products, selling my offer, doing any marketing, doing any fucking sales, doing my homework, doing my discovery calls. I could list 100 fucking things. Okay, great. Guess what? I don't think you want to do it. And if you ask me to problem solve within the sphere or the assumption that you want this, We're solving a problem that isn't a problem, and we're all fucking hung up in your game. We're all hung up in a game called supporting a delusion that justifies the fact that you're not growing. Because of probably environmental factors. Because at some point prior in the psychological chain of events, you had an opportunity to choose something. And instead of choosing, you deferred to your environment.
Or they think they chose wrong and now they have regret.
Yeah, but I bet you if we fucking reverse engineered it, they didn't choose. They just acted very sneakily like they did choose. But this is like when I'm talking to my clients or we're on group calls and someone's like, I have a question. And like 18 and a half minutes later when they finish talking, there's no question mark.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, can you say it again with a question mark at the end? And I've had people be like, you were insensitive. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Transcribe the shit you're saying. You said you had a question. You didn't ask a question. You're tricking me into asking and answering your question. Fuck off. You know? Like, why does it feel so hard, Stephen? If we're willing to go to such lengths, such crafty lengths, even just to avoid putting a question mark on something, the human psychology is trying to survive. It's like, the way I'm going to survive is by not asking a question. The way I'm going to survive is by framing a question as a statement and making this other person burden the weight of my question. If it's so hard to just do that, how can we expect them to be like, I'm choosing to grow?
I think that's probably one of the reasons we have such an imbalance in terms of where people actually grow consciously versus not.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, we can.
Seems to me like most people are not designed to grow
people are not.
consciously.
No. And that, that's why we have challenges in I think it's why we have challenges in like culture in general, where we'll have a situation where like an experience like a virus will take out economy, let's say, and you didn't save any money. Oh shit.
Yeah.
You know. You know. It's one result. There's many results of it, but like, and I've had to be very humble to that too, in terms of like recognizing how many people are like absolutely run by their experiences and their environment.
Everyone.
Yeah, I didn't want to believe that. I wanted to believe that, you know, so-called people were more capable based upon my interpretation of what that meant. And that might have been my own fantasy of my own being more capable too, you know. And I think that's what happens. Like when we get caught in fantasies, whether that's a fantasy on ourselves or a fantasy on the world, vice versa, it affects our ability to be a predator and a prey. Most people in a fantasy only want to be a prey, oddly enough, because the more time you spend in the, I mean, think about it, it's like a lion. If you're some kind of animal, you're being chased by a lion, and you stop for a second to play inside a fantasy, you're gonna get fucking eaten.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it goes. So the fantasy is a nice place to store some predatory desires, but the prey desire is actually being expressed, and consequently, that's why we have situations where people will not ask a straight question, because asking a straight question is a deciding moment where, like, I'm putting my sword out, and I'm going to kill something.
Yeah.
I'm either going to get an answer that's right or wrong according to what I want.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to take that risk.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to become the predator, the warrior. And I've also been a person that has predominantly, historically, not been very good at that. You know, and I was on a video today where someone said that they're not good at confrontation.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and this person was a video gamer. I'm like, that's so fucking funny, because it's like you confront all the fucking time in a video game.
Yeah, no.
But it's
Not
the
really.
same,
No.
you know?
No, dude. Like, it's not the same as sitting down in front of someone and being like, "Hey, dick,
Yeah, exactly.
you took my fucking toy and pay me now." Or you fucking chew with your mouth open and I don't like it. You know, like for some reason, like human beings are like, whoa, what? Whoa, wait a second. What are you saying? Like, and I'm like, I'm just realizing like you're you're choosing. It's like you said at the beginning, like people want direction, and it's like I think the grower will give the direction.
Yeah.
Which I think is just like another thing. Like the grower is the person who decides. The person who decides is giving life and death to resources. They're giving life and death to resources according to their inner barometer, based on what it is they value, and to the degree they become more refined and more specific and more articulate and more clear and more astute and more wise about what they value and what putting resources to good use looks like, the more they're gonna decide for other people. You know? Like, I decide for everyone here what goes on. To a degree, like, there's strata of decision making, but it's like everyone here puts up with my decisions. It's like how it is. Like, I get on a call with a client and I decide a thing, and then it's happening. And we're all gonna just endure that, whatever it is. Or, like, we decide we're gonna do this media broadcasting shit. And it's like, well, here we are, doing the things. And does it feel painful? It feels risky. I mean, I feel like I'm losing context because, like, it feels less and less risky the more I decide things. But I'm also creating more and more detail. Like 6 years ago when I shut down a business, I was like, I remember these moments, and I'm sure that this is somewhat ephemeral by now, but it was like I'd set up this fantasy that like somehow I was going to dramatically change how much money we were making like the next month. That's how you know it's fucking crazy. You know? And it would involve me having to learn like 20 things that I didn't know I had to learn. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, we've had clients like this. They're like, yeah. I'm going to just make money doing an offer, right? And I'm like, okay, but you need to learn how to, I don't know, make an offer, structure the offer, figure out your avatar, put together compelling content, speak into a camera. That's hard. Speak into a camera and communicate a clear idea. Work with a team to get these projects done. Write copy. Like, get on Facebook, recruit your friends, learn to have constructive conversations that lead to sales. Like, I'm teaching 50-year-old men how to walk up to girls in a bar, basically. In some cases, like, hey, maybe don't just ask them if they're down to fuck, right? Like, warm them up a little. I have to tell 50-year-old people that. They're like, what? On social media? Like, I need to have conversations? I'm like, I don't know, maybe. Like, they are people. That was me, where I was like, man, I'm sure I'm only one lesson away, you know? But not really. I didn't really think that, because inside I'm like fucking anxious and like I'm gonna fucking die tomorrow, and like feed me 8.5 liters of coffee and everything is a panic. And then the next month would come around and I'd be like, fuck. Right? Like, God damn it. Like, I was so sure that we were gonna do the thing, and there isn't the thing. What the fuck is my problem? Like, this isn't working. Then I'd be into existential crisis, and I'd be like, can I pay my bills? Like, what's gonna happen? Da-da-da. And I'd just be always panic mode all the time. And so, like, I couldn't plan what the fuck to do with resources 2.5 days into the future. You know what I mean? But it's like now, in my life, we've got like systems and shit. I've like built them. Like accurate systems. Like we push a button and like a thing comes out, and it's like, whoa, whoa, like taking a thing out of a customer's brain, like putting it into Trello, and then like in some cases like 3.5 weeks later, it's like poof, there's a thing. It's like that is fucking magic. That is magic. But there's like 30 systems in there that make that happen. And then that system is one of like 20 systems that like moves the money wheels in the business, right? And then I have this spreadsheet where it's like every month, every transaction, in and out, what it's going to be, reasonable predictions, what our costs are going to be, when the fucking payrolls are, when the source deductions go, when the GST is due, when the loan payments, when this, when that, when this, when that, the income, that all the stuff. And I've got like a rolling thing into the future where it's like, based on these pretty accurate, reasonably conservative, and well up to date, because I update it every day, this is how much money there will be this many months. And then if something changes, I go in and I do the things. I'm like, change. And then I go and I'm like, okay, great. All the boxes are still green. Right? And it's like, if they're negative, it goes red. And if it's positive, it goes green. And I'm like, okay, all green, we're good. And then I can like go upstairs and go to sleep. Right? But it's like, that's, having that spreadsheet didn't solve my fucking problems. Becoming the person who makes that spreadsheet solved my problem. Like, I don't get to now decide what to do with the money that is coming out of this. And the spreadsheet doesn't make the money. My ability to decide what to do with the money based on the spreadsheet is a result of me becoming the person who has the spreadsheet. It's not like I Googled how to be a good financial manager and then made a spreadsheet and then solved my life's fucking problems. But I perceive people would think that. I actually think there's someone listening to this now in the infinite realm of our reality these days, which is that this is now and also not now, because they're listening to it in the future, but to them it's now. Someone's listening to this now and they're thinking like, you know what I need? That spreadsheet. As if it's going to solve their problems. But it won't. Let me just tell you, it's not going to. It's not going to solve your problem. Like, that's not the point I'm trying to make here. But on the other side of the equation, I'm like, you should make a spreadsheet. Even though I know it won't solve the problem. Why do I think they should make the spreadsheet, even though I know it won't solve their problem, and I know that I made the spreadsheet because I became the person? Is it like that's the trial? I feel like it's circular. It's like that's now my environment. And it could have informed me if I had it before now, but I didn't. But now I do have it. And so it's like chicken and egg. Like, the spreadsheet doesn't make the man makes the spreadsheet, but the man who makes the spreadsheet becomes more of the man who's likely to have a spreadsheet. Like, what part of that is the fucking growth part? The part where I just persisted and like continued to refine. I mean, I was just at any time, I was just doing my best with what I had. I was fucking doing my best.
Well, it's the application of systems, and that's really important. Like, here's something that stops my growth, right? Trying to keep it all in my head instead of actually sit down and take the time to write down all the things that are going to happen in order to make the song.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's one of those things. And so, like, I'll have any other non-musician come in. Like, they're musicians, but some of the musicians are singers, not musicians. And they'll come and they'll be like, man, I just heard this awesome song. Can we do a cover of it? Get your guitar out. Hang on. There's steps in between. And I know that because I'm the guitar player. So it's like, that's going to take some time. And meanwhile, they want it now. And I'm like, you can't have it now. It's going to take practice. And so then I have to bring a reality back into there, and then they get upset about it, maybe. Or maybe that regulates itself over time. But I realized in my own life that if I have all these song ideas, well, where do I start? And what I used to do is the game of I'll just play and see what happens, and just noodle around and just see if something shows up. The problem that I had with that, and that I've come to be aware that I had the problem, is that if all you do is noodle and judge your growth as a musician, and this is true for anything, only on how better you are at noodling, i.e. shredding or whatever it is you're doing, that doesn't mean you're a good recording artist. And if that's the end game, then maybe this whole noodling agenda is a little bit skewed. So nowadays, it's like when I listen to songs now and when I start to produce my music, it's like, God, this stuff is not complicated. It's really not. There's not a lot of complex music out there that is really that difficult to play if you're proficient and if you practice. But just to get something on the radio, yeah, there's melody. But technically, it's not hard. I mean, the guitar part that I'll play on a country song or like a Shania Twain song or something like that, it's not very hard. So did I have to practice 1,000 more hours to get to that level? Probably not. But I didn't understand that back then. Nowadays, because I have a different system, I'm like, let's put a Trello board together. Let's say, what do I hear in the song as it's in my head? I hear a bass, I hear a keyboard, I hear this, I think I hear that. Great, put all those things down. Let's find out what goes where, and what audio file goes in what card and stuff like that. So now I have a system where instead of running into the biological constraint, which is I have this song idea, I hear something, it's got lots of things in it, and as soon as I go down to record any part of it, I'm now not able to hear all of it, and I'm fucked. And now the idea is dead, and I'm just going to move on to something else and just ruminate more and more and more. Nowadays, it's different. It's like I have a different level of patience because I'm equipped with a system. So I believe that the person that has the systems can absolutely help the people who don't have the systems learn how to become a person capable of operating a system. Does that mean that they are becoming the person who created the system? Probably not. Can they become an operator of a system? Probably.
Interesting. I do build systems. Huh.
And that's really important for people that are stuck in like existential crisis, because systems solve the environment. And solving the environment, and the environment is not only an environment. Environment is how you use your time.
Yeah.
Environment is how you use the thoughts that are going in your mind.
Yeah.
So changing the environment changes the person.
Yeah.
Because now they're living in a different space. That's why we go on vacations. Environments make a fucking difference. You're not the same person.
No, you change.
You change.
That's 100% true. Like, I change when I change my environment. Well, I change my environment a lot. I move this shit around, like, every day. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Like, yeah, I still don't know how to grow. I mean, I am growing, but like any other system, it's circular. That's something that's very interesting about systems theory is no system is linear. It's not like do A, do B, you get C. It's like, that's not, like, growth is a process. In business, culture is a byproduct of the rhythms and the habits and the disciplines of the company. Like, a company culture is a byproduct of its meetings. And so, like, it seems to me like growth is a byproduct of our habits. Growth is a byproduct of the systems that we build into our life. Like, if you want to grow, then the systems in your life must become more refined, more nuanced, more complex. Like, growth and complexity seem to have a relationship in my mind. And so we need to go from the person who exercises to the person who exercises, fosters nutrition, spends time in nature, Like, exercise alone isn't a complete system for health, for example. It seems to me like it really comes down to like accumulating more and more of the resources we want, which means getting clear on like with you and the guitars, it's like more and more of the resources we want doesn't mean hoarding the resources we had, right? Like, more resources for making music means resources that fit the form of the vision that you have for what making music looks like. And so as you learn more and more, and as you grow as a musician, if you don't keep up with transforming your environment to align with your growth as a musician, then you'll end up frustrated and stuck. If I don't change my environment as I grow as a business person, we end up stuck. If I don't change my environment as we grow as an online brand, we end up stuck. It's like fostering more and more of the resources that we want by transforming our environment in a way where it keeps up with our vision, which we can, you mentioned this earlier, which we can see through our dissatisfaction. Like, your anxiety is there for a reason. Your dissatisfaction is there for a reason. Like, are you listening? Are you listening? And are you changing your environment to respond? Or are you bartering yourself on your own suffering? Seems to me like those are the antiparticles.
Yeah, it's a shitty game when you were dissatisfied for legitimate reasons and you bought into a book that says you shouldn't be dissatisfied and you should do this instead.
Yeah.
It's like, are you sure? Are you really sure that's a good idea?
Yeah, just fucking
like,
move.
Just be dissatisfied for a while. Like, my studio's the same way. Like, when I first moved into the house, and I started setting things up, like, I had a guitar in the corner, my acoustic amp, my electric amp. That was it. And I have photos of each progression of the studio, and now it's like I have a vintage organ in there, I've got a drum set, I've got all sorts of guitars, I've got a whole desk studio set up with the computer on top. Like, it's cool. And it's like, now because that environment is now more resourced to help me express myself, I'm able to express myself, and I'm much more calm doing it, and I'm not buying any more gear. And when I go and look to buy gear, I'm like, do I really want that, or am I going to find another piece of gear down the road 6 years from now that I'll pay full price for and it'll just be better? Like, I might as well just do that, you know? So, like, the compulsions tend to stop, or at least calm down. And everyone has compulsions. We all shop like crazy. But it's like, those things will calm down when you start to take care of the details and the systems of the environment. And it's so important.
We were at my parents' house the other day for brunch. I like this story. We were at my parents' house for brunch. And I remember, I think when I lived there, I think I fucked up their stove. It's like I pulled the thing down. Were you there? It was me. I did it. I fucked their stove up. It like, I pulled on it in a way where it's like, it came kind of like out on its hinge. And you like put the hinge back and it still works. Anyway, my parents were cooking something. We were there for brunch. I think she was making like eggs. Like eggs in little ham cups. Like put them on an English muffin. It's kind of like a Eggs Benedict without the yellow sauce.
It's not hollandaise.
No hollandaise. And it's like, my mom's opening it, it's like, and I'm like, Mom, I'm like, that's so annoying. Like, I was just like, what the fuck? It's so loud and squeaky. Why are you, like, does it always do that? She's like, mm-hmm. I'm like, why? I'm like, why are you, Why are you enduring this? This is the fucking worst. Do you like cooking with this stove? It's so horrible. Like, I made a big enough of a deal about it that my dad, like, got up and, like, went to the garage and got the silicone spray and, like, fucking fixed it. And I look at my mom, I'm like, see, Mom? I'm like, how hard was that? I just complained loud enough. And he fucking fixed it. Like, don't fucking put up with it. Why are you putting up with shit you legit don't have to put up with? Like, why are you martyring yourself on your own suffering when you could just grow instead and change your environment? If your Wi-Fi sucks, buy a new router. If your cameras suck, buy new cameras. Guess what? You can lease shit. It's a magic thing. It's called leasing. Okay? It's like, for someone who knows how to make money, leasing is like the fucking best. You go buy $20,000 worth of shit and you pay $500 a month for it. Great. $500 a month. Wow. Really, we run a $1 million business. More than 1 million, not millions. So everyone on the internet is fucking clear. 7-figure business. What I mean to imply here is 9,999,999, 7 figures. You know what I'm talking about? No, like 1.3 or 1.4 or something this year probably. And we can just go buy. Awesome. This looks awesome. Doesn't this look awesome? It looks great.
Cool.
These other cameras,
they're shit.
Are shit now.
Yeah.
It's funny, right? We buy these ones and we're like, those are shit. They're such shit fucking video cameras. They're so fucking shitty. But we suffered for a long time with those video cameras.
Yeah.
I don't think we suffered for longer than we needed to. Like, I think like I woke up to like the fact they were kind of like not as good.
Yeah, and we had to damage one too.
Recently. I think we bought these cameras at like a reasonable incremental pace.
Yeah.
These new ones. We didn't suffer unnecessarily. But it's like now that we have the new ones, like the other ones are fucking bad. But let's appreciate them for what they did.
Yeah.
It was fine. Now that we have these microphones, the other one is fucking bad. Now that we have this TV back here, having those two monitors side by side that no one except us know is fucking bad. It's fucking bad. It was cool. It's like, cool. Wow, Alex. Take 10-year computer monitors and like put them on their side. Real creative. With your square thing. And it's like, actually, like, I show people videos of our old set. They're like, that's cool. I'm like, I know, but you have no idea. Like, to you, the growth it will take you to get to the piece of shit set we had is like 10 notches.
Yeah.
Right? And to like now people look at this, they're like, I could have a set like that. It's like, not really. Where do you even buy pipe and drape? Like, I just got this from a guy who has a container full of it. Where do you even buy it? How do you get it? And who's going to go through the effort of like thumbtacking it so it looks like a curtain on a wall? No one. Because they don't really want to do it. They don't want to be that person. They just want the benefits of having a studio in their basement. It's funny. Growth is funny. But all of this is in pursuit of something meaningful. It's all in pursuit of something meaningful. And the funny thing is, it's meta here because it's like the meaning I'm creating is the meaning of growth. It's like literally like I built a business because I wanted to grow. And my business helps our customers grow, and it's a place where our team gets to grow. It's the most meta fucking business you'll ever find. Right? It's like, I don't really give a shit. Like, I'm with Ari when he's like, I don't care about world peace or curing hunger. And like, the truth is, I don't either. I really couldn't give a shit. I really couldn't care. But like, if one of my customers gives me money, I will go to the fucking moon and back to help them grow. I care about that. I don't need to change the fucking planet. I just want to make a lot of money so we can build a cool place where people want to go do float tank shit and like explore the mysteries of the universe and like drive a cool car when I drive, which is almost never. So it's weird that I'm buying a Tesla, but I was like, ever since COVID started, I think I've driven all of 10 feet. But I don't try, I don't drive very much ever. And the more groceries and shit that she buys through apps on the phone, the more I'm like, what the fuck was I going to the grocery store for? Like, talk about suffering for no reason, going to the grocery store when she can spend $7 or $10 on an app and groceries just appear at my house. So it's like the minute I bought a car I actually will like driving, I eliminated all of my reasons to drive because I was literally just driving to the grocery store. That's growth, right? The minute you get the thing you thought you wanted, you don't need it anymore. Like,
And that's amazingly true. Like even in every time I find something new or I set something up in the studio and I'm just like for me it happens when I buy a cable I don't need. You know, I'm like, God, I need that 15-foot USB extender. And then I buy it, and then I'm like,
dude, I have lots of those.
fuck.
You shouldn't buy them.
You're right. And then I'm like, I go down the basement, I'm like, I already had that. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah, I remember buying that 10 years ago. Fuck.
Yeah.
What happens?
I know. I'm emptying a garage of cables that I don't need onto Facebook Marketplace right now. I wonder how much you could sell that 15-foot USB extender for.
Oh.
Probably like $8. Who knows? I feel like we've covered a lot and nothing. Also, I think that's the point of the show.
Well, that's what it is, an existential crisis.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm like, man, I just want people to grow, and then I'm like, are they growing?
I want people to grow too, but I want people to grow by like first clearly understanding who they are, which is a direct result of observing your environment to the level where you spend like hours just looking at a fucking wall. Like it takes time to get your mind and your being and your life like back into your reality. It's not easy.
No.
For a lot of people. You know, I grew up on fucking Ninja Turtles and video games and, you know, dissociated parents and, you know, everything serves, yeah, and I didn't know how to use a calendar until I showed up here. So it's like,
dude,
fuck, you know?
How much better do you feel in your life knowing how to use a calendar?
Fucking a lot better. You know? And it just applies in so many other areas. And I'm like, fuck. You know, and whatever we like. I believe every person is like they start where they're at.
Yeah.
You know, start where you're at, but know where you're at. That's like so important. Like, you know, I share the story of the basement apartment. It's like I knew where I was at, but I at the same time I didn't. You know, I was wanting to play the game. I wanted to just keep myself in a fantasy that it was better than it was, and all these things. And you know, when it really came down to it, it's like you will experience whatever is the proper symptomatology in your life to force you to make a decision.
Yeah, you are experiencing it.
Yeah. And
You
it's like
are.
and it's okay to experience that. It's okay to recognize that, you know what, this sucks, I'm not happy, and I should complain. That's perfectly valid.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that like you should just go and read A Course in Miracles and think that your life is going to be better in a week. Like, no, that's not how it works. Like,
No.
if you have real fucking problems that need real fucking action, you should take real fucking action.
Yeah, change it.
Or find someone in your life who's willing to, help you along that game.
Well, like, and take action. I think another lesson to just really try to kick home with this episode is like, your growth depends on you taking action towards what you want. Like, and I want to be clear, it's not necessary. I've grown this company, I've grown this culture, I've grown in my life. I don't know, I feel like I'm 30. How old am I? 32? I feel like I'm 32 and I've done so much. I've grown so much. I've done so many things. I've achieved so many things. I've traveled all over the world and I've worked with dozens of business owners and we've built every type of technology you can imagine, and I've run an IT company and I've had employees and I've done all these things and I'm just getting started. And where I am right now, I've gotten exclusively on the back of growing based on what I don't want.
Yeah.
Like growing in response to perceived constraints, growing because I overcommitted and didn't have enough money, growing because I spent more money than I earned and I had to deal with it, growing because made sacrifices like in putting 8 people in my fucking basement. Like, it's a cute joke, and also it's like I don't have a home. Like, that's a choice we made, right? Which we suffer by. We've grown on the back of all of these decisions that are arguably painful. I've grown from the perspective of dealing with pain. And it's like, why shouldn't I have? If I don't have enough money, I don't have enough money. You're not doing anything in life without money. So I should grow on the back of figuring out how to make more money than I spend. I should grow on the pain of like learning to manage people if I want to achieve any meaningful scale. And the only way to do that is to hire people and realize I fucking sucked at managing them, so I could experience the pain of having them do weird and crazy shit that makes no sense, and that I had no choice but to confront and like become a better leader and manager and build systems and everything else. It's all been painful. And now I'm realizing like I can also grow by like investing in resources I like. Like, if I like it and it helps me grow, I'm going to spend money on it. For example, I like the internet. I perceive that the internet helps me grow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not suffering. I live in a first world fucking country, Canada. I have Wi-Fi. And one day I was like, I've heard myself talk about how I think the Wi-Fi sucks like 30 times. I'm just going to buy new fucking Wi-Fi. How's that sound? In the past, I'd be like, I'm not suffering enough.
Yeah.
I'm not suffering enough. Now I'm like, fuck that. My life and my income and my happiness and my enjoyment, the amount of time I spend on the internet, I'm just buying new Wi-Fi. I bought new Wi-Fi and I was like, oh my god. Like, the other Wi-Fi was so bad. It was so bad, Stephen. Like, this Ubiquity stuff with the magic blue ring on it, it's like, I'm not joking, 30 times faster. Do I need it? No. Nobody fucking needs the internet. Right? Nobody needs it. But guess what? I'm growing faster. I'm growing faster now. I'm going to buy a Model 3. And then guess what? My garage, which has been full of shit for a decade of my life, is no longer full of shit. Did I need a Tesla? No. But, conveniently, you need to plug them in. And to plug them in, you must park them in the garage. And to park it in the garage, I must get rid of a decade's worth of baggage that I had no real reason to get rid of before. Now I'm getting rid of it. I'm like converting it into money. It's like thousands of dollars of just bullshit. A server rack, you know, $40 computers. And I'm like, my best friend, my childhood best friend, has a job because I bought a Model 3 and I need someone to Kijiji the shit in my garage. Like, how much more fulfilling can it be? How much more fulfilling can life be? You know? Than to, like, be like, listen, Justin, sure, come work here. Do random shit. Earn a wage, hang out with people you like, go home and play StarCraft. I get an empty garage. You get a job. It's the fucking greatest. I don't know, I just feel like that's great. That's growth. How the fuck would I ever be able to employ my childhood best friend if I never grew?
Yeah, that's the incentive conversation that you started with. And it's exactly that. It's that you don't know until you do.
I didn't know.
You know?
It's not like I set out to do that.
And that's one of the challenges when people make it up. It's like, like, make a list of the things in your life that you're actually not okay with.
Yeah.
Just make a list of it and then be like, great, I can ruminate and I can complain and I can justify and I can rationalize and I can try and get myself out of it for lifetimes. Or I can just honor it and say, great, what do I want instead?
Make a plan and do it.
And start there. You know, that's where you start. Just you acknowledge it. Be like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
So what do I want instead? I want this. And if it's not enough, maybe you got to suffer a little more. But at the same time, just there's an inspirational component to it, which is like, what if you did grow?
Yeah.
Like, what are the possibilities?
What will you find on the way to that Tesla?
Yeah.
Or what will you find on the way to whatever it is you want? Because, like, that's where life happens. Life happens between here and there. It's like, you know, by the time I got it, I don't need it. Right? It's funny. It's like one of the people we're in a relationship with is like, Alex, if you ever need $1 million, here's $1 million. And I was like, fuck, I'm not ready to spend $1 million. And also, it's like, where the fuck were you 5 years ago? Right? Because it's like, I don't need your $1 million now. Arguably, I couldn't spend it fast enough. Like, the fuck? Why? It's here and I don't need it. Like, God. It makes me feel so happy and angry. But it's like, you know what? I grew. It's going to be the same thing. It's like, you know, we're going to have 40 clients and like shit here is going to happen on autopilot. And it's like, I'm going to be like, wow. Now we have like all these people in the world want to come work here and we don't need them anymore. Whereas like right now I'm like, man, like if we just had more videographers that I can't find for the life of me. Like I don't know where to get them. I can't find them. I put posts on Facebook. Nobody's coming. It's like, what? Then we're going to get them and I'm going to be like, oh, wow, great. 50 people just emailed me trying to get a job. And it's like, I don't need you anymore. Cool. You want to talk about anything else?
No, that's pretty good. That's fun.
All right. Who knows what we'll talk about next time, but there will be a next time. And I'm sure we will do what we do, which is empty our minds out onto the table and let you do whatever you want to do with it, I think is the answer. You know? Thanks for joining our conversation. This has been an episode of Existential Crisis with Stephen Gardner and Alexander Ford. And that's all I have to say. Turn the shit off.